Good morning, BookTube, YouTube. This is Johnny. Trying to make a video since I have a space of time where I will not be interrupted. At least I don't think I will be interrupted. My wife went to church this morning. It is a Sunday morning. It is 9 o'clock in the morning here in Holland, Michigan. It is August the 17th. 2025. It's a Sunday, and I thought I would show you the books that I got on the August the 8th, 2025. I'm looking at my paper diary for August 2025. Every year South Haven, which is south of us, has a blueberry festival. And one of the events they have is the AAUW used book sale at the First Congregational Church there in South Haven. And we've been going for a number of years, not every year, but we've been going pretty regularly. I can't remember how many years. So even though our son Josiah and his wife Hannah and their two girls were here, they were going to go to Grand Rapids on Friday to do some things. And so Carol and I figured, well, we just drive down to South Haven, pay to get in early, which I didn't have to, because when we got there, I found out that they opened at 8 o'clock for those who wanted to pay to get in, and 9 o'clock was the time for the regular public. So when we got there, it was 9 o'clock, and so I just got in line, and I really didn't there were not that many people there, and there were not that many interesting books. So yeah, August the 8th, 2025, we went to the AAUW used book sale in South Haven, and these are the books that I found. Just walking around, there wasn't that really many books that really blew me away. But as you know me, I have a lot of interest, and so I just grabbed what I looked interesting. That's basically what I did. I think I paid $41 for these books. And to me, supporting AAUW or supporting a public library used book sale is fine with me. I'm all for supporting things like book sales, and I think the AAUW gives out scholarships for people going to college. I think something like that. So anyway, enough of this rambling. As far as my diary, my paper diary, I'm on page 670 this morning in my 2025 paper diary. As far as what I've been reading in the mornings, I'm still reading through the book of Jeremiah and the Bible Medieval Tradition, edited by Joy Schneider. As I mentioned, these are selections from medieval commentators on Jeremiah, and still reading the ancient Christian texts on Jeremiah by Jerome, and reading the Reformation commentary on Jeremiah Lamentations, edited by J. Jaffrey Tyler. We finished reading the prophecy of Jeremiah last night. We read it at night before we go to bed, and before we have close the day in prayer and Bible reading. So we finished Jeremiah, but I'm not really. So then we're going to start reading Ezekiel, and this is the Reformation commentary on Ezekiel and Daniel, edited by Carl R. Beckwith. So we're going to start going through Ezekiel. Well, first we're going to read Lamentations, and then we're going to go into Ezekiel. So that's basically what I've been reading, but not consistently. I'm kind of, maybe as I get older, I'm getting kind of burnt out, exhausted, beat up, roadkill. So I feel like roadkill. Something you see on the road that's been run over a million times. And so these are the books. One thing I'm interested in is the Native people of America, and I don't like it describing them this way, but American Indians. And so I bought this book, The Long Death, The Last Days of the Plains Indians by Ralph K. Andrist. He's quoting here from the New York Times Book Review, quote, "A vividly, swiftly paced account of the Plain Indian Wars and the dispossession of the Plains Indians in the half of the century after 1840. So I got this from my American Indian collection. And then I picked up Standing at Armageddon, The Grassroots History of Progressive Era by Nell Evan Painter. This is American history. Standing at Armageddon is a comprehensive and lively historical account of America's shift from rural and agrarian society to urban and industrial one. Now, Irvin Planter is the Edwards Professor of American History at Princeton University. She is a historian. I never heard of her, but I like reading American history, as you know, and so I picked this up from my American history collection. I'm not really into ancient history, but this book looked interesting, so I picked it up at the AAUW used book sale. The Birth of Classical Europe, History from Troy to Augustine by Simon Prince and Peter Thonemann. Yeah, I don't know. I do have some books on ancient history. Covers Rome, the Roman Empire, Greek and Peloponnesian, Western Mediterranean. I don't know, it just looked kind of interesting. I'm into the French Revolution, 19th century, 17th century. This is the Oxford History of the French Revolution. When I went to catalog this in my library thing, it said I already have it, but I don't know where it is. So I'll keep it until I find the other copy, if I still have it. And this is by William Doyle. Yeah, I have all kind. Yeah, I'm always reading on the French Revolution, that time period, 1840s, late 18th century. So I picked this up. I collect Europia edition books, and if I see an Europia, if I see a New York Review classic, if I see a Penguin classic, I just buy them. And this was an Europia edition. They're a publisher, and this is by Valerie Penryn, Fresh Waters for Flowers. And this was translated from the French by Hildegard Sir. Yeah, I just, if I see an Europia edition, I just pick them up and collect them. And so, I've read a lot of them, but not everyone I bought. This I can't pronounce. This is short stories by a Chinese writer. I don't know what years this was, but it was published. It's by Yang, I can't pronounce the name. This is, I can't pronounce, I'm good. These are short stories translated from the Chinese by Andrew F. Jones, and I like books and stories and translation. This was says he was born in 1960. Said he must still be living. This was published in 1996. The Past and the Punishments. 8 stories. I collect books on Charles Dickens, even though I have not read him. I don't know. So that's one of the things. Someday I want to read a major work by Charles Dickens, and I picked this up at the used book sale. This is by Peter Conrad. I have other books by Peter Conrad. When I went to catalog this in my library thing, I had other books by Peter Conrad, which I don't remember which I have. But also when I got the book, I just grabbed it. Dickens The Enchanter by Peter Conrad. But when I brought it home, sadly it was underlined, which bummed me out because I spent, this was a $6 book. They had at the AAUW used book sale, they had a whole section called Prime Books, which are like books that are more expensive than the other books. They're $6 usually, and this book was $6. So I figured, well, it must be a brand new book because they put it per Prime. It must be in good condition. So I didn't really look at it until I brought it home, and then I realized it was all underlined. It was not worth $6. See the underline. So I was kind of bummed out about it. I thought about getting rid of it, but I don't know. I'll just try to ignore it. But it's called Dickens the Enchanter. Inside the Explosive Imagination of the Great Storyteller, published by Bloomsbury by Peter Conrad. Yeah, I had other books by Peter Conrad, but I don't remember now what I have by him down there. This must have been Library of Harry. It belonged to somebody. And also, it's a new book. It was published in 2025. So anyway, have to deal with it. I like books on Russian history. I don't know why. I don't. This is St. Petersburg, Russia's Window to the Future, the First 3 Centuries by Arthur L. George with Alana George. Yeah, I have this fascination with Russian history. I don't know why. Maybe because Russia is always in American news. We have this ongoing thing with Russia since probably the Cold War. So, so I picked this up from my Russian history. Put these down here. Yeah, I don't know how I got into Russian history. I remember when I was in my younger years, I really got into Russian literature, and I don't know, Russia just has a fascination with me. I collect the novels of Sarah Waters. I don't know why. I don't know how I got into her, but maybe sometime a year. I've been on BookTube now 9 years, and once in a while somebody would show a Sarah Waters novel, and I start picking them up, and maybe someday I'll read her. But this is her novel, The Night Watch, by Sarah Waters. Sarah Waters is the New York Times bestselling author of Little Stranger, Fingersmith, Affinity, Tripping the Velvet. She has 3 times been shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize, has twice been finalist for the Orange Prize, was named one of Grenada's best young British novelists, among other distinctions. Waters lives in London. I think I used to see her novels when I used to watch a lot of British booktubers, which I don't do anymore. But so I've been kind of curious what her novels are like, and so this is one I picked up at the AAUW book sale, The Night Watch by Sarah Waters. This is another book on Russian history, Catherine the Great, A Short History. I can't pronounce the author's name. I think this is Yale University Press, 1990. Catherine the Great. It says here there's Isabel de Madariaga, one of the world's leading scholars of Russian history. Here presents the most informative, balanced, up-to-date study yet written of Catherine the Great and her reign. This woman is professor. This Isabel de Madariaga is professor emeritus of Slavic Studies at the University of London. She is also the author of Russia and the Age of Catherine the Great. So that's from I have other biographies on Catherine the Great, Peter the Great, people like that. This is I saw this. There's one book on the category music when we were good, the folk revival, and what this is a history of folk revival. And what that was, what it says here, when we were good, traces the many and varied cultural influences of the folk revival of the late 50s and 60s here in America. It is a capacious analysis of ideologies, traditions, and personalities that created an extraordinary moment in American popular culture. Robert Cantwell, who wrote the book, explores the idea of folk at the deepest level, taking up some of the more obstinate problems in cultural studies: racial identity, art, politics, regional alliances, class differences. He shows how the folk revival was a search for authentic democracy with compelling lessons for our own times. There's also, so it kind of looked interesting. I'm always looking for books on music, popular music, rock, classical, anything, country, so I picked this up. This is a novel this is another Prime Books. It's at $6. I didn't take the sticker off because it's going to rip. This is by Bonnie Jo Campbell. She's a Michigan writer. I've read 2 other novels of hers over the years and I've always enjoyed them. And this was on the Prime table. This is her novel, The Waters, by Bonnie Jo Campbell, National Book Award finalist. This was, I think, published recently. Let me see here. Yeah, she wrote Mothers Tell Your Daughters, Once Upon a River, American Savage, Q Road, Women and Other Animals. I've read the Q Road and American Savage, and I have other novels by her, but this was written, I think, this year. Let me see here. This is 2024. Bonnie Jo Campbell. They have The Waters. Bonnie Jo Campbell is the author of 6 works of fiction, including American Salvage, finalist for the National Book Award, National Book Critics Award, Circle Award, Once Upon a River, a national bestseller, the recipient of the Guggenheim Fellowship, etc., etc. She lives outside of Kalamazoo, Michigan, with donkeys. She's on my Facebook too, Bonnie and Jo Campbell. So I picked this up. Prime cost me $6, but I've always enjoyed her writings. Then lastly, I found this book just sitting around somewhere, and I am interested in this whole movement, and what it is the arts and craft movement. This is by Rosland Blakesley. Yeah, it's all on the arts and craft movement, which I've always been fascinated with. It was a wallpaper and housing and furnishing and it's just very interesting. They did books, covers, they did all kinds of things, but it's on that whole how it affected not only America but Europe and England and other parts. But it's on the Arts and Crafts Movement by Rosland P. Blakesley. So it's one of these big table books. It's a library withdrawal book. I think it was, what library was it from? It was from South Haven Memorial Library. So it's a library withdrawal book, but I like reading about the arts and craft movement. They did stained glass windows, houses, furniture, wallpaper, designed books, and William Morris was the leading figure in it, and so I picked that up. So that's what I found at the AAUW used book sale at South Haven on Friday the 8th, 2025. So now I can put these away somewhere down in the lower level. Don't know where. Well, like this book will go in the music section. Bonnie J. Campbell will go with her other novels on a bookshelf, and Catherine the Great will go in Russian history section. And I'll put Sarah Waters with her other novels, The Night Watch. I have a whole shelf of American Indians. This will go there. The Long Death, The Last Days of the Plains Indians. This will go with American history. This is on the Progressive Era. This will go in the section on ancient history. I have almost 2 shelves on Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens, The Enchanter by Peter Conrad. I have a whole shelf of Japanese and Chinese literature. I have a whole shelf of the Europea editions. I have a whole shelf on the French Revolution. And this will go with Russian history, St. Petersburg, Russia's window to the future, the first 3 centuries. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is that even though I've dehauled thousands of books from my library, I add to collections that I have the Russian history collection, I have the Sarah Walters collection, I have the French Revolution collection, the American Indians collection, and the Charles Dickens collection. And so I just add these to what I already have. And on the arts and craft movement, I have other books on the whole time period. So nothing really mind-blowing, but yet there's always something. When you go to a used book sale, you're always finding something that goes with something else. So yeah, this is a Sunday. It is the 17th. It's a Sunday, writing in my diary. Like I said, I'm kind of out of it in the mornings. I just kind of drift through the day, praying for grace to live in these very dark and troublesome times. So I hope you have a good new week. Thank you for the new subscribers. Thank you for all the happy birthdays. Yeah, we went to a used book sale. I told you we went to Saugatuck used book sale on my birthday, which I'll show those books in the next video. And I also went to the Book Nook the other day and got a bunch of books. The Book Nook is the library used book sale, just 5 minutes from where we live. I bought some books there. I have books come in the mail. I got an Amazon gift card from our oldest son and his wife, Emily, and our granddaughters, Josie and Cora. And I bought some books with that. I got books coming in the mail this week. So yeah, there's always books. That's all there is. I mean, when you're facing the end times, what is really a blessing is that you can sit and read and write and pray as we see Rome burning. So I hope you have a good reading week. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you once again for all the happy birthday wishes. Pray you're all doing well. I'm hanging in there. God's grace is sufficient. And may the Lord bless. Until next time, bye. If you got any questions about these books, any questions you want to ask me about anything, feel free. Also remember, I keep an online diary because my videos, my YouTube videos is part of my diary, Crooked Fingers and Live Journal. If you want to read anything, I have other things on the internet. So just type in my name, Johnny, Jonny, Keen, Keen, and you'll see my other things and I have on the internet. So yeah, I have nothing to hide. I'm an open book. I'm transparent. There's no skeletons in my closet. I'm not being wanted by the FBI. So yeah, once again, hope you're all doing well. Have a good reading week. May the Lord bless. And until next time, bye.